Here's part 2 of our 2-part special with Elaine Mitchell, the sleep expert from the Lincolnshire Sleep Hub. Can't wait to get into it. Welcome to Happiness, Health and Relationships podcast. If you're looking for inspiration on powerful, healthy habits, you've come to the right place. I'm Angeline and I've been working with people for over 10 years in therapy. And this podcast will cut through the myths and misinformation on healthy lifestyle. I'll be interviewing experts in their field, providing top tips and motivation for 6 elements of living medicine. The 6 elements are reducing stress, exercise and fitness, nutrition, sleep, reducing addictive substances, and how to master healthy relationships. Let's get started.
So that has an impact on the circadian rhythm. Obviously, like we talked about earlier, they're not seeing those 3 elements of light. They're not creating the desire to sleep at night because they're not expanding any energy, and they're also not receiving those signals to the brain for the hormones release and everything. So it does make a huge difference.
That's massively difficult, isn't it? Because if people's mood is low, then motivation goes out the window. Like you say, you know, the tendency to just want to stay at home, either in bed or on the sofa. You know, people tend to withdraw, and like you say, it's a vicious circle then.
Yeah.
I guess I was thinking about the other, the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, of which sleep is one.
Yeah.
So we've touched a little bit on nutrition. I'm wondering about nutrition and drinking, whether it be water or wine, and exercise. You know, how do they impact our sleep?
Yes. Yes, they do. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And it impacts either that we don't want to sleep. Because, for instance, if you're exercising really, really close to your bedtime and you're going out and running a marathon, or you're doing this big high energy Zumba class or whatever, then you're going to be more fired up because of what we've released in our body, the feel-good hormones and everything, as opposed to those calming down and being able to release the melatonin to help us sleep. So, and again, if you're not exercising in the day or you're not moving in the day, because exercise can be a bit troublesome, can't it, for some people? If they hear the word exercise, you're telling me to do that. It's moving, it's walking, it's basically not. It's doing any sort of movement. Even if you sat in your chair and you cannot physically get out of your chair due to emotional or physical reasons, it could be just moving your arm or just taking part in something that supports you to move your body a little bit more. If we have a full well-being approach, then our sleep's going to be better. So obviously, if you can move in the day, if you can take notice of your nutrition that you're eating, if you can take note of the liquid that you're taking on board. Obviously, alcohol is a diuretic, so that could have an impact on you getting up in the night. And also it may well help you get to sleep if you have a little nightcap or a few nightcaps. It could help you zonk out, but that is not a restorative sleep, because what you're going to do then is wake up feeling dehydrated. You're going to wake up probably with a hangover, and you're going to wake up with a fuzzy head and not firing on all cylinders, because your body has been trying to clear your kidneys, trying to clear your liver, and doing all the stuff intensified, focusing on the alcohol you've consumed as opposed to dealing with all the other elements of your body as well. So you're not going to have got a decent sleep from that. Obviously, we've all had a Friday night or a Saturday night, so whenever. When it's consistent and it's every night, it is going to have a massive impact. So yeah, making sure that you're looking after yourself with using your pillars is going to have an impact and support your sleep as well.
Yeah, I was just thinking there that what you're saying there is really important, because I think I've heard it said before that when we sleep, there's like a cleanup operation going on in our brain and in our body. And I think that that's what you were saying there, that it's really important because it's getting rid of like protein that might be building up in the brain, and helps with brain fog and all that kind of thing. And menopausal symptoms, we're getting into the impact there as well. So
yeah, definitely.
that I think that's helpful to just understand that when we're asleep, our body needs that clear out.
Yeah. And it's emotional and physical as well, because the first part of your sleep is dealing with the physical side of things. So that's doing your tissue repair, your cell renewal, your cleaning, basically. It's when you're having a good clear out, so to speak, and it's rejuvenating and restorative. The second element of your sleep cycle, which is when we're dreaming, basically. So that's, as dreaming is very, very important. Even if we don't remember our dreams, I very rarely remember my dreams unless they are really bizarre. But our dream state is when we are sort of filing everything away in our brain, and we're dealing with the stresses we've had, the strains we've had, the fun we've had, the excitement we've had, what we're looking forward to, what we might regret, what we're worried about. We're dealing with all those emotional elements in our brain. And another important part is, while we're asleep, we've also got the glymphatic system going on. And the glymphatic system is where, like you say, it's cleansing the brain tissues, so for want of a speak. So it's working to help with our brain health as well as emotional health as well. So it's working on both those. So during the first element, we're sorting our bodies out, our physical body. During the next element of sleep, we're sorting out our brain and our emotional and brain well-being. And
okay, yeah, that's really informative. So at what point do we think we might need some medical help here? How do we know if we've got a sleep disorder, for instance, where we might need, what do we need to do if we're starting to really worry and that it's been going on for a long time?
yeah, to be defined as a sleep, insomnia is the most popular sleep disorder, or the one that most people say, I've got insomnia. So to be defined as having insomnia is you need to have no sleep. I'm going to say no because that's the language that we would use. We'd say, I didn't get any sleep last night. So maybe you got an hour, maybe you got half an hour, maybe it was very, very spasmodic and you got 3-4 hours, but you wake up exhausted. So insomnia is when for 3 nights a week and it's lasted for more than 3 months, that is when a clinician, that is when your GP will say, yeah, we agreed that there's insomnia in there, and chronic insomnia affects around 7% of the UK adult population. So 7% doesn't sound like a high figure, but when you're part of that figure and when it's affecting your work, it's affecting your home life, it's affecting your relationships, and it is the only thing you can think about, it's impactful, isn't it? So we would say then go and see a specialist. Now there's the CBTI, which is cognitive behaviour therapy for insomnia, and that is very, very effective for treating insomnia. It's proven to be more effective than medication in many cases. It is hard and it does get worse before it gets better, like anything. But if you've had this problem for 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years, going through a 6-week course to get the benefit of them being able to sleep, look after yourself and create those routines that will benefit you, it is the better of 2 evils, I suppose. And then you've also got sleep apnea, which is the one that most people don't know they've got, but their partners or their loved ones know that they've got it, because it's when you can't get your breath when you're asleep, perhaps a heavy snorer, and it's basically when your capacity to breathe while you're asleep is impacted, and you have those moments of gasping and not being able to breathe. So typically you hear snorers with that because their airway is obstructed. That can be, very, very. That again can be impacted by lifestyle changes a lot of the time. So again, you're going back to your pillars: nutrition, exercise, losing weight if you're overweight, changing your sleep posture has a massive impact on sleep apnea. So sleep posture, if you are a back sleeper or a side sleeper or a front sleeper and you block your airway from being crunched up, then it's going to have an impact. So we've actually got a webinar on the Lincolnshire Sleep Hub about sleep posture, and I would recommend anybody to watch that. Basically, when you get into bed, what we recommend is again, back to routines. Give yourself a little talking to. This is bed. I'm going to get myself into a nice posture, a nice position. This is now my sleep position. So if you were a side sleeper, your pillow would fill the gap from your ear to the neck. So up to your shoulder, it fills that gap to keep your spine aligned. Pop a pillow between your legs from your knee down to your ankle. And if you lay down your side, make sure you're nice and aligned, and then give yourself permission to go to sleep. I know that sounds really silly, but again, rather than worrying, I'm not going to get to sleep tonight, it's time for me to go to sleep, just changes that internal dialogue a little bit and helps you to switch off, so to speak. And then you're lined up.
I'm just interrupting this episode just for a few short moments to let you know that I've got a page where you can leave me a voice message. I want to make these podcasts as interactive as possible, and wherever I can, include you, my brilliant listeners, into these episodes. So head over to speakpipe.com/Angeline and go ahead and leave me a message. It could be a question, it could be a review. You might even want to let me know what you'd like to hear on the upcoming episodes. Whatever it is, please drop me a message, and we might even include your message in upcoming episodes. I'll endeavour to answer all the questions, but I can't guarantee that I'll get to all of them, but I'll certainly give it a good go. Anyway, let's get back to it.
Yeah, just to let people know then, there's a webinar on, so just to give the details of the website at this point, where people can have a look at that.
Yeah, that's lincolnshiresleephub.org.uk, and it's on the resources tab. And there's a webinar all our webinars are on there, but it's the first webinar we did on sleep posture. Highly recommended. It's changed lots of people's ability to get to sleep and to be comfortable. Because a lot of people say, well, I must be comfortable because I just sleep. But then how many people do you see on aeroplanes? Do you see on buses? Do you see on trains? And they've got their head cocked to one side. They're absolutely fast asleep. And they wake up and they have to physically lift their head with their hands because they've got that crink in the neck and they've been that uncomfortable. And while you're asleep, your brain does not have the ability to say, this is painful, move your body, because you're asleep. So we don't do that. So it's important that we get ourselves into a posture. We do move, obviously. We do move while we're asleep. But if we start off getting ourselves into that sleep posture that is comfortable for us and more beneficial to us, then eventually we train ourselves while we're asleep to get back into that. It's muscle memory, isn't it? So we'll get ourselves back into the best position possible. So side sleepers, pillow between neck and ear, supporting that pillow between your legs. If you're a back sleeper, your pillow doesn't have to be as thick because that gap is not as thick on your neck, but it again is supporting the gap, that curve that we have, supporting that. And then maybe a pillow underneath your knees as well. A fairly flat pillow, because you're creating that that bigger surface area, so gravity doesn't take over, doesn't move you about as much.
Lots of little details here that sound like, all those little details are going to make a big difference. So I'm definitely going to be checking out that website there. And the other thing that I was thinking is the CBTI, is that available on the NHS, or how do people access CBTI?
So we actually, the Sleep Charity, do training for CBTI. So we can train sleep professionals, we can train therapists and professionals in that area, whether they are like NHS or whether they are a therapist. And Lee said, just a therapist then. We're both sat here as therapists going, just a therapist. So we can do that. But also, yeah, if you ask for referral through the NHS, that is available. And there are also some resources out there that are group CBTI, and also online as well. So, and also apps that you can do it yourself. Is it as effective following it without that support and guidelines? It's not as effective, but it's better than doing nothing. It really is.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, thank you for that information. Because I think you're talking about resources. I think you've got a sleep ebook as well.
We have. That's on the main sleep charity website. So that is thesleepcharity.org.uk. And if you go on to there, there's lots of different sections on there. But if you go on to the adult section, that is available as a download. So you can just download that sleep book, and it's got lots of hints and tips in there. There's also the hint in there about cheese. and there's lots of information in there. The website has got numerous downloads like shift workers, driver fatigue, details about all the different elements that the sleep charity support as well.
I think there's going to be lots of people all over that's listening to this that are so relieved that we can have cheese. I think that's the best news. So, okay. What about the courses? So you were touching on there that you train corporate organisations and you do training for NHS staff and stuff like that, and health organisations. So how do people access the courses that you provide?
So if you go on to the sleepcharity.org.uk, there's the availability on there of all the courses that we've got, which range from, like you said, from the professional ones. There's a lot with regards to being sleep practitioners and CPD for all professionals in sleep as well.
And that's accredited training as well, isn't it, for professionals?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And you're also campaigning as well at the minute, aren't you, for improvements to the support available?
Yeah, we recently launched the Sleep Manifesto, the Manifesto for Sleep, and it's ongoing. There's always something going on where the Sleep Charity are working with other charities or working with organisations and really bringing out sleep to the forefront into workplaces, into other professionals, and the NHS and things like that. Really, everybody needs a good night's sleep. And that's what it's about.
Absolutely. I just think, we were saying at the beginning, it just impacts everything. So I really appreciate the information that you've brought today. And I'm definitely going to be having a look on the website and trying to implement some small changes myself. What about any other top tips then, whether it be our environment or anything really? Any other top tips that you can give us?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's all about being proactive, isn't it? So if we look into our own environment, we have brought the modern life into our bedrooms. And I always say to people, be more caveman, because if you look to our forefathers, if the cavemen, they lived in a cave, obviously, that's why they're called cavemen. They went to sleep at night on a cave floor. It was hard, it was cold. They didn't close the windows or the doors because, quite frankly, putting a boulder across the front of the cave wasn't conducive. So the cave was left open. They slept on the floor with a buffalo skin. So it was a cooler environment, a little bit harder to support. So they got like that supportive system that they were laid on, and then they had perhaps a buffalo skin or something like that weight to give that sensory load on there to help them to hunker down. They got that weight there, and that is more conducive to a good night's sleep. So I will say to people, be more caveman, bring into your bedroom, make it your sanctuary. You don't have to have it like a cave, obviously. We've got some modern things out there that we can have. So make sure your bed is comfortable. If you can have your windows open, have your windows open so your temperature is a little bit cooler in the air. Make yourself warmer by having a heavier blanket or quilt or something that you've got control of, rather than having the central heating on that is going to make you at an uncomfortable rate all night. And also look into your environment. Is it cluttered? Make it somewhere clear. because we bring our daytime activities into the bedroom, especially since lockdown. A lot of people have got their laptops, their computers, they've got loads of books in there. They may well have got a couple of pets in. They've got television, they've got books, they've got so much stuff that we would normally associate with daytime activities. Again, it's down to that confusion that we create in our brains. What am I supposed to do in here? Am I supposed to sleep? Or shall I have those thoughts going through my mind because that in the corner's just prompted me? So keep your environment as cool, as dark as possible and as clutter-free as possible as well. So that you've got that space. It's your space to sleep. It's your sanctuary.
I'm thinking as well that some people who work from home, they have to use their bedroom as an office, don't they? So, that's another complication, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and I mean, I did that. I had to do that when lockdown occurred. I had to put my office into my bedroom. There was nothing I could do about it. There, I made sure that I'd got a bit of a space. Everything was turned off at night. Before I turned it off as soon as I'd finished work. So everything was turned off. There was no light buzzing or anything in the background. There was no little lights flickering away from modems and that sort of thing. So keeping your space and having those signals. A lot of people do like a light to sleep. So if you do have a light on, try and have a red light. Again, stimulating that red light from the sunset as opposed to having a bright white light, that is going to wake you up. So try and be more caveman. Make your bedroom into your cave. Darker area, quiet, heavier blankets to keep you hunkered down and comfortable.
I'm thinking mobile phones as well. The blue light thing that I've heard it said that stimulates our brain, and so that makes it difficult.
To be fair, it's more of the action of scrolling through and getting into that mind-numbing action of just looking at things and delaying going to sleep. So your brain is activated through that. Most phones now, you can have a nighttime mode on, so you can turn the lights off, so to speak, and you can also get blue light blocker glasses should you wish to support that as well. Most people do have the phones in the bedroom, and I'm not saying take them out. If you care for someone or you've got elderly relatives and you need that phone, or you've got kids going out on nights out, you need that phone at the side of you to make sure that everything around you that you care for is safe. So we're not sort of giving a dictatorship and saying do this, do that. It's what works for you and what fits for you. It's being able to be proactive in your quest, shall we say, for a better night's sleep. What actions can you take that will make it a little bit easier for you, that you can have that control over being able to sleep better and restoring your body. That's what it's about. It's about health and well-being at the end of the day. What actions can you take in the morning all the way through the day to ensure that you sleep better?
I'm sure our listeners are going to get a lot out of our discussion today. So thank you so much for joining us and for giving us all this information. It's really helpful, and it's just been an absolute pleasure really talking to you today.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
And that's it for another episode of Happiness, Health and Relationships podcast. If you'd like to find out more ways that you can work with me, then head over to happinesshealthrelationshipspodcast.com, and I'll see you on the next episode.